Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to ShootOut. We have got a different kind of vid here today, I guess, but it's kind of in the same theme as a lot of the other stuff that you see here. We got Chelsea discussions because Chelsea playing Newcastle tonight in the Carabao Cup Quarter Final. A fascinating lineup of games, 4 matches, 2 days. You've got Everton playing against, who are they playing against? Fulham. You've got Port Vale, who are 15th in League One, against Middlesbrough. You've got Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool, West Ham, and of course, you've got myself and Big Eunice to discuss it because Chelsea are going to win the League Cup, aren't we, mate? Tell me we are, please.
In a normal world, or a normal world as we grew up in, I would say, yeah, why not? And this time, I've got nothing but question marks. So I can't say anything.
Oh, well, we're going to have to try and answer some of those, aren't we? Because I'd love to believe that Chelsea can. But I think a good place to start as we build up some tension is to look at the 2 other matches, which I know arguably Everton beat us a week ago. They're a better team than us. They play better football. Probably are just better overall. They've got Fulham at home. You would look at Chelsea in a, let's say, potential Carabao Cup semi-final in hindsight if we beat Newcastle. You would like to believe that Chelsea, over 2 legs in a semi-final, could beat both Everton and Fulham, wouldn't you? But how do you think the Everton-Fulham game goes? And is it so important that it's at Goodison Park this time around for Everton?
It is, I feel like. And you know what? Everton at the moment are going through this... it's not a bounce. It was a bounce, and now it's the bounce isn't ending, so therefore it's not a bounce because a bounce always comes to an end. This is just consistent, solid form, and they've had their backs against the wall. They've used that situation to really push on, grind out results, and not just grind out results every single game. There's been games where they've just actually gone, dominated, scored, won the game comfortably. So for a Sean Dyche team, that's rare. You know, you look at that and you look at his history in terms of the football that he's played and the teams that he's managed. That's quite rare. But with this Everton team, it's clicked really, really well. And they're all solid. They're all together. They're all on the same page and they're getting results. So now they find themselves in the Cup Quarter Final with the situation that they're in, having been deducted 10 points. And now they're at the relegation zone and the feeling is great. And they're still pushing on because they know it's not enough. They're probably going to bring this over to the Cup and try and go all the way here because... when do you ever see Everton win silverware? So they're probably going to think, why not? You know, so I'm honestly looking at this game and the fact that they're at Goodison, I think Goodison's going to be rocking. Fulham been a little bit up and down as of late, and the last game they lost, they went down to 10 men. But they've been up and down, and I feel like Everton have the complete momentum to bring into this game, to use that and get a result and, you know, plough onto the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, which would be a huge achievement for them.
Yeah, I think Fulham is a weird one because I think if you didn't have that red card in that, it was like the 20th minute or something from Jimenez against Newcastle, I've got a feeling that those when you win 2 matches in a row in the Premier League 5-0, I know it was Forest, West Ham is not an easy team to beat 5-0. Fulham were on an absolute roll. They were brilliant at Anfield as well. So unlucky not to bring an amazing point or maybe even 3 back from Anfield, apart from incredible goals that Liverpool scored. They were on a massive run. But I think for Everton, like as much as I don't really care that much about Everton. Like, I understand they're a big club. I know that there's such a rich history there, and it would be such a shame as a result of a points deduction to see a passionate fan base lose that Premier League status and get relegated to the Championship. There's no way in my mind right now they're going to go down. They would be ahead of Chelsea in the league if they didn't have that 10-point deduction. In fact, they'd be 4 points ahead of Chelsea. In the Premier League. They're not conceding goals. They're scoring goals. And like you said really well, I think it's such an un-Dyche-like team that he's just found a click there at Everton. And I think a cup run, in my opinion, would be massive for them. I think if you can add up all of that kind of fear that Everton fans have had to endure, suffer in the last couple of years with thinking we're going to go down. You've got an owner there who... whatever, new stadiums coming, very nice, cool, sounds good. But like still, the way that they've been ran has been atrocious. The way they've spent money on pure trash has been atrocious. You know, they've had managers that weren't good enough. Now they've got themselves like a proper manager. And I think this could be the year. And if you look at the way that they played against us, they were so much better than us.
Yeah.
Even if Liverpool beat West Ham, and they draw Liverpool in a semi-final, 2 legs.
That would be wild.
I can see Everton actually winning this whole thing. That would be immense.
That would be crazy. Sean Dyche picking up silverware. That would be a sight. I'd love to see that.
I wouldn't pay to see it because I probably wouldn't want to pay for a ticket and go to an Everton Cup final where they win. Unless it's against Chelsea, in which case I will buy a ticket and go, even though it's far for me. Far for you. But, I would say this is Everton's game to lose. And for that reason, I'm going to go with a 2-0 Everton win. I think Fulham at home, different to what they will be away. 2-0 Everton, they're going through. Yeah,
I agree. I think Everton are bound to get a result here. As I said, for the reasons that I've mentioned. Fulham do have the team to test them. And I think Jimenez is going to be suspended for this because it carries over. Am I correct?
I'm not sure. I thought now it's like each competition has its own kind of ruling. So like if you get a booking in if you get sent off in the Prem or like an extra yellow, then it doesn't run over to the Cup. Because like clearly the Premier League is more important. I'm not sure about that actually, but I thought it was.
If that's the case, then that helps. Then that helps Fulham at least to an extent. But look, the fact that if this was at Craven Cottage, I would be a little bit more sceptical, but at Goodison, I can't see anything else other than an Everton win right now because the way they're moving is fantastic. So I'm going to say Everton 2, Fulham 1.
So both of those two going through. This is such a fascinating game that means so much to Port Vale and so much to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough are bang in the mid-table in the Championship. Port Vale are even lower in the mid-table in League One. Port Vale are 15th. Middlesbrough, I think, are 13th in the Championship. Yep. I'm just going to throw straight out there that because Port Vale are at home, this is a cup game. Middlesbrough aren't exactly high flyers in the Championship. This could just be one of those matches where the Carabao Cup has like one of those, you remember like the big FA Cup games like in the third round where remember back in the day, Shrewsbury beat Everton, something like that. For Port Vale, this is probably the biggest game they've had in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think for that reason, they're going to win 1-0. I think Port Vale go through, and that in itself is a story. Mid-table in League One, semi-finals, you're going to be playing against a Premier League side, whether it's flipping any of the 6 that are left. I just think Port Vale win. I don't know enough about either of them to talk about like the style of play or anything. So I'm going simply with it's a cup game. They're at home. This is bloody massive. It's going to be cold. It's going to probably be wet. And Port Vale are going to slide their way into the semi-finals. What do you think about this game? Is this the Championship team go through?
Honestly, this game, this is the game of the tournament, isn't it? I mean, I really don't know what to expect. This is one of those freak games that pop up in a cup competition that you just weren't expecting. And fair play to Port Vale for making it this far. Fair play to Middlesbrough for making it this far as well. When you look at the history of the competition in terms of where they've come from, Middlesbrough have had it, I think, fairly, so I say straightforward in terms of the opposition that they've come up against. Whereas when you're looking at Port Vale, similar situation. It's just been very fortunate for both of those teams to be able to get to this stage. They haven't had to play Premier League teams or anyone difficult. Look, Port Vale at home, as you said, this is the game of their season, game of their decade, as far as I'm concerned. Quarter-final of a League Cup. And with Middlesbrough, you'd think that because they're the highest ranked team, they're probably going to make it. I looked at both of their forms. Both their forms are so inconsistent. It's like, win here, lose here, draw here, win here, lose here, draw here. So you can't really base anything on form. So I really don't know what to expect. I would prefer Port Vale to go through just because they're the lower ranked team. They're in League One. It would be mad to see that in a semi-final. But same goes out for Middlesbrough, to be honest. If Middlesbrough make it, then fair play. I honestly think, just off gut feeling here, I can't base it on having watched both teams religiously. I don't. But gut feeling, I would expect Middlesbrough to go through. I hope Port Vale go through. So that's it.
I think that's as fair and as rounded and real as we could have possibly been. Imagine if we could both come on here and one of us snuck in a little bit of research in both teams before the other one and came up with a good reason. I don't have that either. But Chelsea-Newcastle. Surely there's got to be some good reasons here why being Chelsea,
hang
being
on.
Carabao Cup.
We got to give a prediction for Port Vale Middlesbrough. Let's come up with something random.
Oh, the score? No, I said 1-0. I think 1-0.
Should you get a booking for that?
Oh, blimey. I think I've just gone and got myself carded, haven't I?
Oh, this karma's finally here. I don't have a yellow card for the occasion.
Mate, I've been so busy with the doobies in Thailand that I think I've just totally forgotten who I am and what I'm part of.
Referee.
I can only apologise profusely for my atrocious behaviour.
I'm going to use this. I'm going to pretend this is a whistle. Yellow card. You're booked.
All right, I've got my first booking. It's
He's
1-1.
booked.
What
there
do
we
you
are.
think?
Our disciplinary record is now equal. I'm gonna go. Look, I'm gonna go on what I think it'll finish Port Vale 1, Middlesbrough 2, but I hope Port Vale win. Go on, Port Vale.
Yeah. Big up the boys. I don't even know what their nickname is. Let me just type that in right now. You lead us into Chelsea versus Newcastle. Port Vale nickname. The Valiants. The Valiants.
That's a great nickname. That's a great nickname, mate. That sounds lethal. The Valiants.
It does. I'm pretty petrified about that, to be honest. If we Chelsea get through and beat Newcastle and we play Port Vale in the semis, I think Chelsea have been the least valiant team in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons. So I can fully imagine us getting valianted there. But is there any way we're going to win? Can we beat Newcastle? They battered us.
Chelsea Newcastle. I'm going to be honest right now. Look, it's a quarter final. I think what will help is the fans, I think, will be up for the occasion. At least for the first 20 minutes or so. I think Stamford Bridge will be a little louder than usual. I'm not going to say too much louder than usual because I know there's hesitancy and I know fans are not expecting much. So I think there will be a little bit of a better atmosphere than recent times. But if Chelsea are going to play like how they did against Sheffield United, despite the win, then no chance. I'm not going to come and say, Chelsea are going to smash Newcastle to bits. No way. And Newcastle with the injuries, because look, I'm not going to use that either. The last time I used that, Newcastle went and done us 4-1. And they had 10 players out. No, I'm not. So that's not a factor. Chelsea have to play considerably better if they want to put up a chance against Newcastle. That's just the reality, because the Sheffield United game, that first half was diabolical. Second half, they stepped up for 15 minutes or so, but even then, Sheffield United just absolutely... I expected Sheffield United to come up and execute, I think, the game plan that they had in place, and they didn't. They were just flat. They did nothing up top. Petrovic had a day out, basically, in between the sticks. So Chelsea have to play better than what they did against Sheffield United. If they don't, then it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, I think we could possibly, because of the disparity in quality between the way that both Newcastle and Chelsea have performed all season, realistically, it wouldn't be foolish to believe that Chelsea should get beat quite comfortably. I do think Newcastle, even though they've been a bit out of form, bit hit and miss, I think they're a better team than us. I think they probably at this point have a better manager than we do. I think tactically they look significantly more knowledgeable about what they're being asked to do and able to execute that as a result. Yep. But I do think you're right with the crowd. I think as Chelsea fans, and I've said this in my Chelsea-Newcastle preview that will probably go out after this video on my channel, I do think that we have to just look at the Carabao Cup now as kind of like Port Vale will look at the Carabao Cup here, be in the quarterfinals and be like, this is literally as good as it can get. And I think as Chelsea fans, we have to treat this the same right now. We have to look at the fact that we could be in a semi-final, which could then be a Wembley day out and be, this could be as good as it could become or feel for maybe a couple more years whilst we try and figure out if we're going to, sell the club for profit or we're buying these youngsters and they're all going to be good, whatever that is. We could just basically look at this and be like, Stamford Bridge has got one night here, beat Newcastle, you're in a semi-final, then there's no reason to not be backing the boys and being up for it. Do you know what I mean? Even for the players. So I say tonight, Stamford Bridge is the difference maker, and it's why I think Chelsea are going to win. Can I give my score first, even though I did it again last time?
Yeah, go for it.
Booked for that.
Go for it. Go for it. You've got permission.
Okay, I've got this vision in my head, right, I've got this vision that it finishes 1-1 and Petrovic saves the winning penalty. And I think it will be very nice when Anthony Gordon is the one to miss it. And I think Mudryk will score a penalty for Chelsea. I know that if that happens, I'm going to look like the Messiah, and it's not going to happen that way. But it's a prediction. It's supposed to be fun. It's 1-1, and Petrovic gets the winning save.
You know what? Our predictions are not too far off in terms of the actual scoreline. But yeah, this is a point that I want to make. You're right in saying that the fans could, I think to an extent, give some sort of a difference. But I think with the circumstances that Chelsea are in, it won't be as significant as it normally is when Chelsea are on a relatively good run of form. You're right in saying that this is basically the be-all and end-all of Chelsea's season now, or even into next season, because next season we're definitely not playing European competition. So it'll be the same story again. And it's a case of we have a chance to get to a semi-final. If we get eliminated tonight, we don't get through, that's it. Season is officially finished when you think about it. And then, we've got the FA Cup, but what happens there, God knows. So I honestly think because of the fact that it's Stamford Bridge, that we might actually step up in terms of the atmosphere. And for that, I'm going 1-1 as well. But I do think when it comes to penalties, I think Newcastle leave with the win on pens. So
yeah, you're probably right, aren't you?
That's because even in terms of penalties, and why I say that, I'd love to be able to say, no, you know what, Chelsea win on pens, no problem. I think the experience and the scenario, being in that situation, we've got a bunch of young lads that are going to have to deal with pressure, and I'm not so sure they can handle it. That's my fear. Whereas I think Newcastle, a little bit more established, I think can carry themselves over the line. They played the final of this competition last year, and they've got a point to prove for themselves as well. So this is why I feel like on penalties, I feel like Newcastle just about get it.
I think you're probably more accurate and realistic than me in my prediction. But oh well, we'll see. Chelsea versus Newcastle. Stay tuned on ShootOut. After the game tonight, once I've done my video, 6 things, once Eunice has done his match review, we will be reviewing this game together. So we can come together when emotions are still either very high or very low, and we can discuss it. So make sure you stay tuned to ShootOut. The final game is Liverpool versus West Ham. This one is at Anfield, which probably makes Liverpool, I'd say, the favourites to win the whole thing, probably, because they've got a great record here. But also, surely they've got to beat West Ham. Eunice, talk me through this one.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think Liverpool right now, as far as I'm concerned, alongside Aston Villa, are moving like the most consistent Premier League team. Their last result against United was pretty flat. I was surprised. I thought they would, wipe the floor with United. But I don't think it was a question of Liverpool. Liverpool actually, I feel like, done what they could. It was more Man United just doing absolutely nothing and parking the bus and just hoping for something. And they did get that draw. But apart from that, Liverpool have been on great form. Great form. And I'm not going to let that Europa League little defeat, mean anything. Liverpool, especially at Anfield, great record. I mean, I think they've had how many wins consecutively at Anfield? It's been ridiculous. That stat popped up and United were the ones to break it because they managed to draw. This is why I look at West Ham, and despite West Ham getting that win over Wolves on the weekend, and West Ham have all of a sudden, they were very up and down. The last 2 games, they've looked a lot better. Last 3 out of the 4, they've actually looked quite decent. They got battered by Fulham 5-0, so that was an anomaly. I don't see enough for them to come to Anfield and get a job done over Liverpool in this situation where Liverpool are a little bit more, I would say, clued up, a little bit more, determined. In a League Cup, they've been there before. They know what it takes to win this competition in recent times with a lot of these players. Yeah. So I feel like it's straightforward. I feel like Liverpool will come out of this fairly comfortably. Not a demolition, but fairly comfortably. So I reckon it'll be a Liverpool result for me.
Yeah, I think Liverpool. I wanted to say West Ham, but then I can catch myself here just coming into like this dream world where I'm like, well, if Liverpool don't go through and Chelsea win, then we're probably the best team left, so we should go and win the Carabao Cup. Realistically, mate, Liverpool are going to win. Liverpool are going to win. You can give me your score first because I don't want to get sent off because then that basically gives me another reason to not be on ShootOut for another week where I've already missed a week, so I should be back now. So I can't get sent off. So you've got to go and give your score so that I can give mine. But mine's quite boring. Mine's very boring. What's yours?
No, to be fair, mine will be fairly boring too, fairly straightforward. I'm going to go Liverpool 3, West Ham 1.
All right, I'm going to say Liverpool 2, West Ham 0. Liverpool go through. Out of all of those teams, I probably think Liverpool will win the competition. I think they'd beat Newcastle. I think they'd beat us quite convincingly. Also, so that is our quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup predicted, discussed, gone into. We found out that Port Vale's nickname is the Valiants. Unbelievable scenes.
The Valiants.
Stay tuned. Yeah, the Valiants, the big Vale. We should just call them the Big Vale from now on. Stay tuned to Shootout, though, because we will be talking through the other results from tonight, but specifically Chelsea-Newcastle, going into details about that game. We're both watching, and we're both going to be giving some feedback on Shootout later. Any final words from you, Big Eunice, before we skedaddle?
No, just make sure, hit the subscribe button, make sure you guys are here, and straight after that game is done, we will be here. Win, lose, or, well, we can't draw. It's a cup quarter final. So win or lose, we will be here, and we'll give you our thoughts immediately after the game. So me and George will catch you guys then.